You are now listening to the Grio's Black Podcast Network, Black Culture Amplified.
Hello, you're listening to Harlem and Moscow, an original audio play presented by the Grio Black Podcast Network. Harlem and Moscow is a 6-episode drama with 3 additional companion podcasts. Harlem and Moscow, Red Flags. Harlem and Moscow is based on a true story. Episode 5, Russian Reckoning, stars Ivy as Langston Hughes, Evan Frazier as Dorothy West, and features Kyla Lacey, Nancy Gilliam, and Brianna Cosette. I am your narrator, commenter, and ultimate guide, Jared Alexander. Last time on Harlem and Moscow. Dorothy West continued sharing tales from her year abroad in the Soviet Union with her mother, skipping the more salacious details. Dorothy explores Moscow with her now roommate, Mildred Jones, who pushes the shy young woman out of her comfort zone while they wait for rehearsals of the film to start. When their director is ready to start rehearsal, he is disappointed that the actors do not live up to his racist expectations. Dorothy is disappointed in his ignorance. However, the others don't spend as much time questioning the production because the Soviets have paid them handsomely to party around the city. After a boozy champagne confession from Langston Hughes, Dorothy learns that this less than subpar script may be to blame for all their leisure time. While Dorothy becomes closer with Langston, Mildred meets a man of her own, Boris, a Russian sergeant who spares no expense to take her out. Shockingly, Dorothy finds herself jealous of Mildred's newfound beau. Later news from home alerts Dorothy that her father has passed away, and the only person she wants to see is Mildred, who is all too happy to oblige. The group is sent on a surprise cruise that they later learn was a distraction, as news breaks that their film has been canceled. The story of Harlem and Moscow continues, with the group stranded in Moscow, unsure of what comes next.
There you are, cousin. All buttoned up. You can't even tell I didn't have the right color thread. Promise me you'll come by after dinner, if it isn't too late.
Of course. I need to hear this proposal story.
If I can tell Mother, I can certainly tell you. Assuming she doesn't throw me out afterwards.
Don't be so dramatic. She's been counting down the days until your return. I'm surprised she didn't chain you to the dining room table as soon as you got here.
All right. I got my house clothes on. No more visitors tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
So, how do I look?
Like a proper lady. And if he doesn't beg to wed you on the spot, get a new man.
Thank you. And thank you, Dottie. I promise to be extra careful taking it off next time.
It better not be coming off until that boy is locked in a different room.
I'll wear it until the wedding day, no matter how smelly it gets. Dottie, we'll talk soon, yes? Good night. I'll give my mother your love.
Good night, dear.
It's getting late. Shouldn't we have dinner?
The only thing I'm hungry for is the rest of the story. You've already told me much, and more that you left out of the letters, especially about a certain gentleman I expect has proposed. Tell me now, so I can order the champagne.
We might need something a little stronger. I will get to that part, but first we have to get back to Moscow. We finished out our sad holiday on the beach before getting on a train. Once we arrived, we were informed that we had been moved from the Grand Hotel to a hostel. I never told you because I didn't want you to worry. The first night, I was sitting with Lang in the common room.
Robert Jalen. He's always called himself a journalist, but he's a crook. You know, he was here, in Moscow, not 2 weeks past. He saw how we were all living. And yes, I may have mentioned that the script needed work, but there's no reason to assume the film was postponed due to gross incompetence on the part of the Soviets. According to him, we were kicked out onto the streets with barely a ruble to our names. I, for one, enjoy our new living arrangements. We are right across from the Kremlin. See it? There, through the window.
Yes, What was that?
Target practice. What other lies can we find in this so-called newspaper?
Oh, my mother is probably tearing her hair out right now. I only hope she gets my letter before she tries to send the National Guard.
We're way outside their jurisdiction, kid.
This would have been my first film. Now I worry it was my last chance. I'm not getting any younger, no matter how many times you call me kid.
There's still so much to see in this country. And I'm sure you've never been paid this handsomely to run around Moscow and look pretty. There's the smile I was hoping for. This is not the end for you. It's the beginning.
Oh, here comes Henry Lee. Oh, he's got his serious face on.
Hey, Lang. Dot. Can I speak with you, Langston? There's something Ted and I have been discussing with a couple of the others.
I'll leave you two.
No, stay. I have a feeling I might need a witness.
All right. You'll hear it soon enough anyway. I understand that Meshropom guy came to Odessa and told us the reason for
Postponing.
Sure. He said the reason was the subpar script and the winter weather. But we, Ted and I, have another theory. A couple of weeks ago, we was at the Metropole bar. We were having a drink when this man approached. We thought he was trying to talk us up at first.
Two good-looking fellas. It's not hard to imagine.
I've seen far more unusual things in Moscow.
Turns out he wanted to talk about the film. He asked about you and Louise by name and wanted to know what you were doing with your free time. After we told him to get lost or go find you to ask for himself, that's when he made his offer. He tried to pay us to leave the film. He told us the project was doomed and that we had best get out now with our reputation still intact.
Did you take the money?
Of course not.
Damn. We could have split it. Inflation is only getting worse.
He knew everything. He even knew I was sending back articles for the Amsterdam. We think this man had something to do with the cancellation.
He sounds like a grumpy capitalist with too much time for reading expat papers and too much money burning a hole in his pocket.
He was wearing a U.S. military uniform. Introduced himself as Colonel Robbins here on unofficial business.
Shit. Excuse my language, Dorothy. In uniform.
Yes.
He approached you in uniform.
Yes.
The nerve of these pigs. Have you told Louise about this? She's preparing for our next meeting with Meshropom. They're on their way to explain our options for going home or continuing the tour and reiterate the reasons for postponement.
Canceled. The film has been canceled. Why can't you say it?
I won't say it because messaging matters. If the film was canceled, all of this meant nothing. It was an impossible dream that was never going to happen. Cancellation means the Soviets have given up on us and all darker-skinned people everywhere. Postponement means hope, not just for the film, but for the revolution. It means not today, but maybe tomorrow. So no, I would not say it has been canceled because that means progress has been canceled too. There's still work to do. That work has not been canceled.
We won't go along with this. Me or Ted. That colonel came to us on orders. We refused him. Next thing we know, the film is canceled. Canceled, Lang. We won't stand by and let them lie to us. If the revolution is dead, I want those who killed it to be held responsible. We're prepared to go on record. We've already typed up a statement.
Of course you did. Well, I better warn Louise about whatever stunt you're going to pull so it doesn't give her a heart attack. Excuse me, Dot.
Henry Lee, wait. You're not going to do anything stupid, are you? I want us all to be friends by the time we get back to Harlem.
That all depends on your friend Langston and how much bootlicking he's willing to do to get himself out of this.
He's working for all of us to protect our reputations. They're spreading lies about us in the newspaper.
Oh, it's more than that. You must have seen the fear in his face just now. He's been saying for years that the military was tracking him and Louise. Now he has proof. The Soviets gave him up. He's trying to save face just long enough to haul out of here.
The Soviets have been good to us.
All their words were nothing but hot air. It was a facade to hide the fact that they have nothing to offer. The money they gave us was stolen from the territories that are being starved out of the grain they produce. The jails are filling up with people who place a toe out of line. They're burning every church in the country. All stuff Langston has begged me not to write about, by the way.
You're going too fast. Slow down.
Oh, if I slow down, I'll turn into Langston. And next thing you know, it'll be, yes, comrade, whatever you say, comrade. Which way to the gulag, comrade? Let's face it. Aside from Langston and Louise and maybe a few others, we aren't revolutionaries. We're just brains who have read some books and have some sympathies. The only thing all the people on this trip have in common is that we could afford to pay our way here. Not exactly communist material.
So that's it? You were so excited for this, and now you're leaving. After you took such a liking to this country and its women.
There is nothing an Ofe can do for me in Russia or anywhere. The only people who are going to make a difference in the lives of Negroes is us. Soviets did a fine job of reminding me that. Oh, you'll be happy to know that I have one more date before leaving Moscow.
Why would that make me happy?
Because it's with the most beautiful brown-skinned American girl. I've got to go back to Teddy and the rest. I'll see you at the meeting, Dot.
Henry Lee and all the rest did exactly as they promised. He and his small group accused Meshropom, the Soviets, and the Communist Party with sabotage of the revolution. When they stood up to give their statement, I stayed seated with all the rest. Henry Lee was right about the fear in Langston, but his fear only made me more concerned. I tried to explain how I was feeling to Mill, but she seemed less interested in the politics of it all. She said her relationship with that old Russian man Boris protected her, and maybe it did. I thought about coming home right away in August, right after the cancellation, but Mill came down with a cough. It was my turn to take care of her. You promised me you wouldn't smoke anymore with that old man. I can't stand when you come home smelling like tobacco. It will never come out of that velvet dress.
I smoked one cigar.
It's probably Lang again. Come in. Louise, Mildred isn't well. I was just feeling for a fever.
I heard she had a bit of a cough. Do you mind if I come in?
Do you have any cigarettes? Only joking, Dot.
I was just making tea with milk. Would you like some, Louise?
Milk in your tea? You both have truly adopted Russia into your hearts.
No, just in our stomachs. I served them their tea, and after the appropriate pleasantries, Louise started in on what she wanted to share.
I'll cut right to it. There was an incident last night involving one of the other women. I don't feel it's my place to say exactly who.
There are only so many of us on this trip. No doubt we'll figure it out.
If you do, it won't be because I told you. This woman, she took a drink from a bottle thinking it was wine. Turns out it was formaldehyde. The doctor said she'll be just fine aside from a sore throat. She claims it was an accident. But in truth, she had been having problems with a man in our group, whose name I will not be sharing, Mildred, so don't ask. It seems she gave him an ultimatum, me, or the Russian girl. You can guess who he chose.
She should have gone out and got a Russian man of her own.
Mill.
She did. She was out every night, stomping the dance floor with anyone and everyone. Then she realized it had been 5 weeks since she menstruated, and as much dancing as she did, she was certain that a baby could only belong to one man. That's when she begins to panic. She called on me a few days ago, and she asked me if there were any doctors nearby that could remedy her situation.
And she was willing to do that? Alone? In a foreign country?
If she would have waited for the money exchange or the next ship home, she might have been too late, assuming she could find someone willing to do it in America.
There was no need to panic. She would have at least 8 months.
She wasn't looking for a doctor for delivery. She wanted me to take her to have the operation? Don't make me spell it out for you, kid.
She was never planning on having the child.
No! No. That would be illegal.
Thankfully, it wasn't necessary. The shock of almost dying must have triggered something inside her, because an hour later, she was bleeding and blubbering. I'm sure she feels ridiculous. There's no need to tell the men. It will only embarrass her further.
After all your talk about following rules and making sure we protect our reputations, you could have been thrown in jail for helping her.
Not in the Soviet Union. Abortion has been legal here since the revolution. You don't need husband's permission or any reason other than not wanting to be pregnant.
But to not even tell the father? To not even give him a chance to do right by her?
He had his chance with her. Why would his answer be any different the second time? If by some miracle he did change his mind, what if it changes again? It's easier to get a divorce here in the Soviet Union than in New York. Trust me.
It was even worse in Virginia.
I never asked. How did you get a judge to grant your divorce?
Luckily, my husband was foolish enough to get his mistress pregnant. Unmistakable proof of adultery. He only escaped a sentence by promising to marry the poor girl.
I was able to get an annulment myself. Wally only touched me once or twice, and he was too drunk to make anything of it. I could see the relief when I asked for the divorce, although he likes to tell anyone who will listen that I forced him to end it. In truth, the only thing I'm guilty of is forcing him into marriage.
I thought you two loved each other.
Of course we did. I wouldn't have been able to stand the thought of having his child if I didn't. But I knew that what I wanted and what he wanted only overlapped so much. The people you have the strongest feelings for are rarely the ones you end up marrying. The timing is never right.
Or the money.
You both make marriage sound so practical and void of romance. If that's how I felt, I would never be married.
Don't mistake me. I have no regrets. A woman who was married and divorced has more freedom than a woman who's never been married. The party would have never trusted me with this position as a single woman.
They treat us like paper dolls when we're single, but the second we're divorced, no need to protect spoiled goods.
I had better go tell the other women before any rumors start. Before I leave, we've reached the point where we must decide our next steps. Several of us have already bought their return trip ticket to Harlem. I'm sure you can guess who. Others, myself and Lang included, are going on one last trip. In 5 days, we leave for Turkmenistan in the southeastern part of the country. We'll only be there for a few days, and then we're back and prepared to leave for good.
What if Mill is still sick? Maybe we shouldn't go.
You might want to. Don't mention this outside of your room. But from there, Lang is leaving for Japan. He's not coming back to Moscow.
Is he really that afraid? Is it safe for us to stay in the city at all?
The Americans are far too concerned with what Langston is cooking up in the East to worry about what his secretary and her lady friends are up to. We'll be fine. I'll put you both down for train tickets to Turkmenistan.
Yes. Thank you, Louise.
And thank you for stopping by. I hope the woman, whoever she is, has someone to look after her.
Keeping the men in the dark means we only have each other. Feel better, Mildred. Goodbye, Dot.
That poor woman.
That poor child!
It was hardly a child. There's food in your icebox older than whatever might have been growing in there.
There is so much death every day all around us. I would look at something like that like a miracle, no matter the circumstance.
It's easy to say that sitting where you are.
I do plan to have children one day.
I hope that plan works out for you, but in the off chance that it doesn't, it would be nice to live in a place that allows for other options.
All right. Then if she was so resigned to it, why bother with formaldehyde?
Just because a woman is free to make a decision doesn't mean she's not allowed to grieve the consequences of it.
How can you be so matter-of-fact about this?
Once I figured out my husband was having an affair, I started to take precautions. Who knows if any of them were necessary, but I never got pregnant. I knew it would be easier to get remarried without a child, and I was willing to do anything to be sure.
I didn't realize you were planning to get remarried.
I could get married in Moscow. I'm only joking. A bit. I was going to tell you, it never seemed like the right time. Boris proposed.
How? With grunts and gestures?
And a large ring. Look. Isn't it beautiful? I think I might wear it the next time we go out. Don't look so sour. I'm not seriously entertaining him. But you must have known I would plan on getting remarried. I assumed you would find a husband too.
God knows that's what my mother wants. But it would never be a white man.
You can't tell me you don't see a difference between marrying a white man from the South and marrying this white man from Russia.
He only wants to marry you because you are beautiful. Someone who is that different from you could never fully understand you. All the little moments of pain and joy you experience walking through the world as you. How can I expect anyone other than another Negro woman to understand?
What would you have me do? It's not like I can marry you. Dot, it's you who doesn't understand. Marriage isn't necessary for you in the way that it is for me. I know your mother wants you to marry, but your family owns your home. They own a couple, to hear you say it. You've always seen marriage as a union of love. For me, it's an opportunity. I want my own home, and a car, and a place to paint. I need someone to provide for me. Do you understand? Dot? I'm used to you going quiet around other people, but you can talk to me. Please?
I'm thinking about my future and yours. I need to take a walk.
Alone?
I'll be all right. I know my way around.
You are coming back.
Of course, I'll be back, Mill. I walked and walked until the sight of that ring on Mill's finger faded from my mind. By the time I got back, Mill was asleep. She didn't bring up Boris or his ring again. We had one last group outing that week before heading east. We were invited to a night at the theater. Our director, Junghans, had already left for Germany, but his translator, James, stayed behind. It was he who acted as our guide that night.
In English, the play is called All God's Children Got Wings by Eugene O'Neill. Oddly enough, they have changed that title to be Negre or Negro. That's the Russians for you.
The play was about an interracial marriage between a Negro and a white woman. I was hoping to see Lang. I still hadn't spoken to him since the postponement was made official. He was there, but he brought along a date.
Please allow me to introduce Comrade Sylvie Chen. She is a dancer touring the Soviet Union as well, on her way back to China.
Half Chinese, half Caribbean, she looked like a Negro but had straight flowing hair. She spoke English, Chinese, Russian. He had certainly succeeded in finding the most exotic woman to drape on his arm. The two of them sat in their own box with a few men who looked very official. Lang drank and laughed a little bit too much. He made toast after toast. I can still hear him raising his glass.
To the revolution.
The revolution!
The whole thing felt like a performance. But the real show began, and I eventually had to turn my head to the stage. Instead of Negro, they should have called the show Menstrual. The lead character was played by a Russian in blackface.
What a shame. There aren't many genuine Negroes in the Moscow theater.
After each scene, James would lean over and give small summaries of the show to those of us who were unfamiliar. After a particularly rowdy act end, we were all curious to know what had just happened.
The Negro tells his white wife that they should go overseas where a man can be a man without the subject of race. He suggested the Soviet Union, hence the applause. Although in the original it was France.
She doesn't seem to love him, not truly.
Are you talking about the woman in the play or the woman over there with Langston Hughes?
What happens to the couple in the play?
If I'm remembering correctly, in the second act, they return to America, realizing that going overseas won't solve the problems in their marriage. From there, the relationship only gets worse. It seems Mr. Hughes would like to make another toast.
Comrades, we should end the play now. There cannot be a happier ending than a young couple moving to the Soviet Union.
The few men who understood English, or at least pretended to, cheered along with him. Even Sylvie Chen cheered in Russian to show off. The curtain rose and the crowd eventually gave their attention once again to the stage. By the end of the play, the white woman had devolved to calling her husband horrible names that we did not need a translator for. After the show, we all started back to the hotel, but Lang turned another direction with Sylvie Chen. Langston! I ran after him and pulled him away as gracefully as I could.
No need to shout, Dot. I'm right here.
And I'm right here, in case you missed me behind your date's good hair.
I said hello to you. I introduced you to Sylvie.
Please don't treat me like I'm a child. I know what's going on. Henry Lee told me why you're scared.
Well, if Henry Lee said it, it must be true. He doesn't know anything about what's going on. Neither do you or any of the other kids. We shouldn't even be talking here. This goes far deeper and will last far longer than a study abroad.
This was more than a study abroad for me. I believed in this project. Did any of this matter to you?
A film was ruined, a trip cut short, so what? We don't need this film, but we do need the Soviets.
Is this why you're with Comrade Sylvie Chen? The Soviets' darling. I will never understand Negro men's obsession with exotic women.
The revolution involves all oppressed people. Yes, Sylvie, I'll be right there.
I was hoping we could speak, just the two of us. I had a conversation with Mel, and I'm feeling
I must
so...
go, Dorothy. Sylvie is waiting. We'll talk in Turkmenistan. All right? I promise.
Next time on Harlem and Moscow, the exciting final chapter. Episode 6, Return Home to Harlem.
Here we are, our train out of Russia and into the unforgiving real world.
Sorry, kid. Lang already left for Japan, with Sylvie Chen in tow.
I entertained this fantasy, but it's time you get serious.
No, give it back now.
Lang asked about you. He told me to give you his love.
I received my envelope, and when I opened it, the money was in dollars. American dollars.
How much?
This reeks of desperation.
It's private, and
it's true.
I'm only telling you this so you're not left abandoned.
You're not a kid anymore, kid. Time to decide what your life will be.
Thank you for listening to Harlem and Moscow, an original audio play presented by the Griot Black Podcast Network. Harlem and Moscow was written by Allie Mims and directed by Aries Harper and Regina Griffin. Sam Riddell is the producer and sound designer. Our audio engineers are Aaron Reppert and Carrie Durham, with music by Transitions. We'd like to thank our amazing cast: Ivy as Langston Hughes, Evan Frazier as Dorothy West, Kyla Lacey as Helen Johnson, Nancy Gilliam as Rachel West, Susay Lawson as Louise Thompson, Brianna Cosette as Mildred Jones, and Broderick Clavery, who plays the roles of Henry Lee and James the Translator. Don't miss the exciting final chapter of Harlem and Moscow, Episode 6, Return Home to Harlem. If you want to learn more about the real people and the real events, check out our companion podcasts, Harlem and Moscow, Red Flags. Harlem and Moscow is such a powerful story that few people know about. Please rate, review, share, and tell a friend about this important adventure in Black history.